The ancient tomb's seal cracked open after 12,000 years, and the first word the alien archaeologists heard was Emma, spoken in perfect standard galactic by a stone that predated language itself. Zilax's mandibles clicked so rapidly, his junior researchers stepped back. Shut it down. Shut everything down now. But the stone didn't stop. It continued its whisper, soft and insistent, echoing through the chamber they'd spent 6 months carefully excavating. Emma Martinez. Emma Martinez. Emma Martinez. Sir, that's not possible. Korvax, his lead site analyst, had all 4 of his hands trembling over the scanner array. The power source in that artifact has been dead for 11,742 years. Carbon dating confirmed it. Radiation decay confirmed it. There's no energy signature that could... I can hear it whispering, Zilax snapped. You can hear it whispering. Everyone in this chamber can hear it whispering a name in Standard Galactic, which didn't exist as a language until 4,000 years ago. The stone sat in the center of the unsealed burial chamber, a simple crystalline structure about the size of a Terran basketball. It glowed with a soft blue light that, according to every instrument they had, shouldn't exist. The civilization that built this tomb had been dead for over 12 millennia. Their language was so ancient that the Galactic Council's best linguists had barely scratched the surface of translation. Yet here was a stone, speaking perfect modern Standard Galactic, repeating a human name. Contact Council Command, Zilax said, his voice tight. Emergency protocols, full xenoarchaeological incident response. According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, sir, do you understand what you are activating? Korvax's eyes widened. The last time someone called in a full incident response, it was because they'd accidentally opened a plague vault that nearly wiped out the Centauri sector. This is worse. Zilax watched the stone pulse with each repetition of the name. This violates causality itself. The emergency channel crackled to life. This is Council Command. State your crisis, Site Director Zilax. We have an artifact actively communicating in modern Standard Galactic, Zilax said, forcing his voice to remain steady. The artifact predates the language by 7,000 years. It's calling for a specific human by name. Silence on the other end. Then, repeat that last part. It's speaking a human name, Emma Martinez, continuously. Humans weren't discovered until 50 cycles ago, the command officer said slowly. This site is dated to 12,000 years before humans achieved spaceflight, Zilax finished. I'm aware of the temporal impossibility. That's why I'm calling. More silence. Hold position. Do not touch anything. Full council investigation team is being mobilized. A pause. Sir, which human is it calling for? Zilax pulled up his expedition roster, his hands shaking slightly as he scrolled through the Galactic Council's Human Integration Program participants. Emma Martinez, she's a human archaeologist. Currently on loan to the Viridian excavation site. 3 systems from here. Get her to your location immediately. With respect, Command, shouldn't we be evacuating instead of bringing more people to... Site Director. The voice from Command carried the weight of absolute authority. An artifact from a dead civilization is calling for a specific human who won't be born for 12,000 years relative to its construction. Either we're dealing with temporal contamination that rewrites everything we know about causality, or something even more impossible is happening. We need that human. Now, Zilax signaled Korvax. Send the emergency summons, Priority Alpha. Emma Martinez is responding, Korvax reported after a moment. She's asking if this is a joke. Tell her a 12,000-year-old stone is whispering her name and we've triggered galactic emergency protocols because of it. Korvax's fingers moved across his console. He paused, reading the response. She says, and I quote, Is this like a prophecy thing or more of a cosmic horror situation? Because my day's been weird enough already. Despite everything, Zilax felt his mandibles twitch in what might have been amusement under less impossible circumstances. Tell her we have no idea, which is precisely the problem. She's requesting immediate transport, Korvax confirmed, ETA 4 hours. 4 hours. Zilax looked at the stone, still pulsing, still whispering. Establish a perimeter. No one gets closer than 10 meters. Full sensor array on that artifact. I want every reading, every energy signature, every impossible thing it's doing, documented. Sir, one of the junior researchers called out. The inscriptions on the chamber walls, they're activating. Zilax spun. The walls, covered in the dead civilization's untranslatable script, now glowed with the same blue light as the stone. More than that, sections of text were shifting, rearranging themselves. That's not possible, Korvax breathed. Stone doesn't just rearrange. Stop saying things aren't possible, Zilax's voice cracked with strain. We're standing in a room where impossible is clearly on the lunch menu. One of the linguists, R. Hill, stepped forward with his translation pad. His expression was somewhere between fascinated and terrified. Sir, portions of the text are now in English. English? The human language. Primary tongue of Earth. Rahil's voice shook. It says, for the one who remembers, for the daughter of the line, for Emma Martinez, who carries what was lost. The stone's whisper grew louder, more insistent. The blue light intensified. And in the back of his mind, the part of Zilax that had spent 40 years studying dead civilizations had one coherent thought. Everything I thought I knew about history just became obsolete. 4 hours until Martinez arrives, Korvax said quietly. Zilax stared at the impossible stone in the impossible chamber on a world that had been dead for 12,000 years. Get me every temporal physicist in the sector, he said, and someone find out if there's a protocol for when history itself stops making sense. The stone pulsed again, patient and eternal. Emma Martinez. Emma Martinez walked into the chamber 4 hours later eating what appeared to be a sandwich, her excavation gear still dusty from her previous site. You guys know this is probably just a recording glitch, right? Ancient tech gets weird sometimes. Every alien in the room stared at her. Zilax noted that 12 of his researchers had unconsciously moved further back from the stone, maintaining their 10-meter safety perimeter. Emma walked right past the barrier markers without slowing down. Ms. Martinez, I need you to stop, Zilax said, his voice tight. That artifact has been calling your name for 4.3 hours. It shouldn't have power. It shouldn't know standard galactic. It definitely shouldn't know who you are. Emma paused mid-bite, looking at the glowing stone. That is pretty weird. She took another bite of her sandwich. What happens if I get closer? We don't know, Korvax practically shrieked. That's why we've established safety protocols. Right, but it's calling for me specifically, yeah? Emma stepped over the perimeter line. Seems rude to make it wait. Ms. Martinez, as site director, I must insist. Emma reached out and touched the stone. The entire chamber exploded with light. Zilax threw his arms over his eyes, his mandibles clicking in distress. When the intensity faded enough to see, his breath caught in his thorax. The chamber walls had come alive with projections, holographic star maps filling the air, spinning slowly, showing stellar configurations that looked ancient beyond measure. Oh, wow, Emma said softly, her sandwich forgotten. Is that Earth? Zilax looked at where she pointed. A small blue-green planet highlighted in the projection, coordinates scrolling beside it in both the ancient dead language and, impossibly, in English. That stellar configuration dates back approximately 12,000 years, he said, his voice hollow. Before humans achieved spaceflight, before humans knew other stars had planets. Navigation data, Korvax whispered, his scanners going haywire. It's complete navigation data from this world to Earth, 12,000 years ago. More projections activated, images flickered to life, scenes of this civilization in its prime. Advanced cities, soaring architecture, beings that looked insectoid, graceful, nothing like any modern species. And among them, teaching them, a figure that was unmistakably human. Emma laughed, but it came out shaky. Okay, that's weird. Anyone else seeing time travel evidence or just me? That's not possible, Zilak said, but the words felt hollow even as he spoke them. Temporal mechanics don't allow... The chamber doors hissed open. Kaeldra swept in, her senior xenoarchaeologist credentials glowing on her uniform. 3 of her 5 eyes took in the scene. The projections, the star maps, the human figure teaching an ancient civilization, and promptly closed in what Zilak recognized as severe psychological distress. No, Kaeldra said flatly. No. I have spent 60 years establishing temporal causality protocols. This violates every single one of them. Yeah, it's pretty much blowing my mind too, Emma agreed. She moved her hand across the stone's surface, and the projections shifted, responding to her touch. More inscriptions lit up on the walls, a bizarre mixture of the ancient language and modern English, intertwined as if they were always meant to be read together. Rahil rushed forward with his translation pad, his hands shaking. The inscriptions, their instructions, for the one who carries the memory, for the daughter of the line who will find us again. The daughter of what line? Emma asked. Yours, apparently. Korvax's voice cracked. Ms. Martinez, I'm reading genetic markers encoded in the crystal matrix. They match your DNA profile. Emma turned slowly to look at him. I'm sorry, what? Your genetic code is embedded in this artifact, a 12,000-year-old artifact. Korvax's 4 hands moved frantically over his scanner. Not just similar, exact, specific markers that are unique to you personally. That's... Emma's casual demeanor finally cracked. How is that even... It's not, Kaeldra's voice rose. It cannot be. Temporal causality doesn't permit information to flow backward in time. You cannot encode someone's genetics before they exist. The projections shifted again, showing more scenes. The human figure, a woman, Zilak realized, teaching the ancient civilization mathematics, agriculture, philosophy. In one image, she stood before what looked like a council gesturing at star charts. In another, she worked alongside the insectoid beings, building something. Emma leaned closer to one projection, her eyes widening. Is that a Martinez family birthmark? She pulled back her sleeve, showing a distinctive mark on her forearm. In the projection, the ancient human teacher had an identical mark in the exact same location. Ms. Martinez, Zilak said carefully, do you have any family history of temporal displacement? I mean, my family tree's pretty well documented back about 400 years, Emma said, her voice distant. Nothing about time travel, unless that's the kind of thing you don't write down for Thanksgiving dinner conversations. More inscriptions blazed to life. Rahil practically fell over himself, rushing to translate. It says, I came from tomorrow, I taught today, I leave this for yesterday's children to find. Follow the memory home. Kaeldra's remaining 2 eyes closed, all 5 now shut. I need to sit down. The human in these projections, Zilak said slowly. She lived here, for years, possibly decades. She taught this entire civilization. And then left, Korvax added, pulling up more data. According to the archaeological record, this civilization collapsed within 3 generations of their golden age, as if they lost something critical. Emma stared at the projection of the ancient human woman who stared back across 12,000 years with a face that could have been her sister. So, Emma said finally, her voice unnaturally calm, time travel is real. One of my ancestors got thrown back 12,000 years, became an ancient alien, and left me a message in a rock. That appears to be the situation, yes, Zilak confirmed. Emma looked at her half-eaten sandwich, then back at the impossible projections filling the chamber. I'm going to need a bigger lunch break. Wait, what does this part say? Emma pointed at a section of wall inscription that had the entire linguistics team baffled. Rahil consulted his translation matrix, frowning. The syntax is unusual. It could mean the stars remember, or possibly stellar navigation archives, or it says, "Don't forget to water the plants," Emma read, squinting at the text. Huh, weird thing to carve in stone. Every translator in the room turned to stare at her. "Ms. Martinez," R. Hill said carefully, "you can read the ancient script?" "Oh." Emma looked at the walls, then back at the aliens. "Yeah, I guess. It's kind of, I don't know, it just makes sense when I look at it." Zilax felt something in his worldview crack a little further. The language has been dead for 12,000 years. Our best linguists have spent decades trying to... The teacher taught them English mixed with their original language, Emma said, still reading the walls as casually as if they were a breakfast menu. "See, this word here is basically tomorrow, but also means the next generation. It's a pun. She made teaching puns." Kaldra made a sound like a kettle about to explode. "Everyone step back," Korvax called out suddenly. "The stone is reacting again." The central artifact pulsed brighter, but only when Emma spoke. When Zilax tried to address it, the light dimmed. When Emma turned toward it, the glow intensified. "It's keyed to her," Kaldra said, running her scanner over the stone with shaking hands. "Voice print, genetic markers, possibly neural pattern recognition. This artifact will only fully activate for Emma Martinez." A deep rumble shook the chamber. Behind the main wall, stone ground against stone, a sound that hadn't been heard in 12 millennia. A section of the wall split apart, revealing a doorway that, according to all their surveys, shouldn't exist. "That chamber wasn't on any of our scans," Zilax said. "Genetic lock," Korvax confirmed, his instruments practically screaming. "It only opens for someone with the correct DNA sequence." Emma peered into the darkness beyond. "Should I?" "Absolutely not," Kaldra and Zilax said simultaneously. Emma walked through the doorway anyway. "Why do I even bother with safety protocols?" Zilax muttered, following her. The inner sanctum was smaller, more intimate. The walls here showed different projections. Not the grand teaching scenes from the outer chamber, but personal records. The human woman, alone, speaking directly to the camera or recording device or whatever ancient technology preserved these moments. "My name is Sarah Martinez," the recording said, and Emma gasped. "If you're seeing this, you're probably my descendant. And you probably have questions." The woman in the recording looked tired but peaceful, older than in the teaching scenes. She sat in what appeared to be a small dwelling, very human-looking furniture, incongruous against alien architecture visible through a window behind her. "I came here by accident," Sarah continued. "FTL malfunction, experimental drive, the whole science went wrong package. Threw me back 12,000 years and across the galaxy. No way home, no way to fix it." She smiled sadly. "So I made a new home." Emma sank down to sit on the floor, transfixed. "I taught them everything I could remember," Sarah said. "Mathematics, agriculture, philosophy, bad jokes, everything that makes us human. They learned. God, they learned so fast, built a civilization that would make Earth jealous." Her expression fell. "But I'm dying. Human lifespan, even with their medical tech helping. And I know when I'm gone, some of what I taught them will fade. That's how it works." "The civilization collapsed within 3 generations," Arhill whispered. "We found evidence of rapid technological regression." "So I'm leaving this message," Sarah continued, "for whoever finds it. For my family, if you're out there. For humanity, if you ever make it to the stars." She leaned forward, speaking directly to the camera with intensity. "One of us will return when you're found again, I promise." The Martinez line doesn't give up on puzzles. Emma laughed, but it came out choked. "Oh my God." "So, you're telling me some human time-traveled 12,000 years, played ancient aliens, then promised a sequel?" Emma said, wiping at her eyes. This is categorically impossible, a new voice announced from the doorway. Jotaro, the Galactic Council's lead temporal physicist, strode in with authority radiating from every inch of his crystalline form. I've been monitoring this situation remotely, and I need everyone to understand that what you're describing violates causality at a fundamental level. Kaeldra gestured wildly at the projections. Then explain this. I can't, Jotaro snapped, his usual composure cracking. I've run every temporal scan in my arsenal. No time travel signatures, no temporal anomalies, no causality paradoxes, no quantum uncertainty fluctuations, nothing that indicates time travel occurred. Yet here's a human from 12,000 years ago, Zilak said, flatly. Yes, which is impossible. Jotaro looked like he wanted to throw his scanners across the room. The central artifact in the inner sanctum, a smaller, more refined version of the outer stone, suddenly blazed to life. New inscriptions appeared, glowing with urgent intensity. It says, Memory Archive, Emma read aloud. For Emma Martinez, neural pattern specific, touch to receive. Don't touch that, Jotaro said immediately. It's a database of her memories, Korvac said, his scanners working overtime. Sarah Martinez encoded her complete memory engrams into the crystal matrix. It's designed to download directly into a compatible neural pattern. Your neural pattern, Kaeldra added, looking at Emma. Emma stood slowly, approaching the memory stone. She left me her memories? Across 12,000 years. Ms. Martinez, we have no idea what direct neural interfacing with ancient technology might do to your brain, Zilak cautioned. Emma looked at the stone, then at the projection of Sarah Martinez, frozen in her final message. She's my grandmother, give or take a few hundred generations, Emma said quietly. She left this specifically for me, for us. She reached out and pressed both palms against the memory stone. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. Emma's eyes snapped open and she gasped, drawing in air like she'd been underwater. Zilak caught her before she hit the floor completely, easing her into a sitting position against the wall. Ms. Martinez, Emma, can you hear me? Oh, Emma's voice came out distant, wondering. Oh, wow. Okay, this is complicated. Kaeldra shoved a medical scanner at her face. Elevated neural activity. Increased synaptic firing across multiple brain regions. She's processing massive amounts of information. I can see her, Emma whispered. Sarah, I can see everything. The room fell silent. Even Jotaro stopped his pacing. Emma closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there was a clarity there that hadn't existed before, an old knowledge sitting behind young eyes. Her name was Sarah Martinez, my ancestor. She was 28 years old, a xenobiologist on Earth's fourth experimental FTL mission. The year was 2187, Earth Standard Calendar. 12,000 years ago, Arhill breathed. The ship was called the Pathfinder, Emma continued, her voice steady now. Experimental quantum drive. They were testing sustained FTL travel beyond the Sol system. Something went wrong. Catastrophically wrong. The drive didn't just malfunction, it tore. Threw her backward in time and across the galaxy. She laughed, but it was shaky. Sarah's words. Best malfunction ever, worst timing ever. Temporal displacement without temporal technology, Jotaro said slowly. A natural phenomenon? An accident of quantum mechanics? She spent 2 years trying to fix the ship, Emma said. She had the skills, the knowledge, but not the resources, not alone, not 12,000 years before humans would even exist in this region of space. Emma's eyes focused on the projection of Sarah, still frozen mid-speech. So she made a choice. If she couldn't go home, she'd make the best of where she was. The civilization, Zilak said, she integrated. More than that, she helped them flourish. Emma smiled, tears starting to track down her face. They were already intelligent, already building, but Sarah gave them tools, conceptual tools, mathematical frameworks, agricultural techniques, philosophical approaches to problem solving. She gave them 73 years of her life. And in return, Kaldra asked softly, they gave her a home, a family, in a way, purpose. Emma wiped at her eyes, but Sarah knew she was living on borrowed time, human lifespan, even with their medical technology extending it. She knew that when she died, some of what she taught would fade. Knowledge passed down orally degrades. She'd seen it happen in Earth's history. So she made the stones, Korvac said. Emma nodded. She encoded her genetic markers into their most sacred artifacts, left instructions in a hybrid language that only someone from her bloodline might instinctively understand. She did the math, the probability that someone from her specific family line would find this place. Emma laughed, and it was pure joy mixed with disbelief. 1 in trillion, maybe worse. The odds were ridiculous. But she did it anyway, Zilak said. She did it anyway, Emma confirmed, because, and this is a direct quote from her journal, Martinez women don't let impossible odds stop them from doing something magnificently stupid in the name of hope. Emma chuckled through her tears. Great times 1,000 grandma was an optimist. The memory stone pulsed, and more data began flowing to the chamber's systems. Korvac's eyes widened as his console lit up. It's everything. Complete scientific journals, cultural observations, personal logs, 73 years of documentation. The civilization's entire golden age, R. Hill added, his translation matrix going wild. Art, philosophy, mathematical innovations, agricultural methods, all preserved in perfect detail. Emma stood on shaky legs, approaching the projection of Sarah again. The recording advanced, showing Sarah's final entries, older now, gray-haired, sitting in the same room but surrounded by artifacts from the civilization she'd helped build. If you're watching this, someone from my family found this place, recorded Sarah said. That means humanity made it to the stars. That means you didn't give up. That means I bet right. She smiled, tired but content. I lived a good life here. They were kind to me, even when they didn't fully understand me. I hope I gave them something valuable in return. I hope when you find this, you'll remember them. Remember what they built. Remember that they mattered. The recording flickered. I don't know if it'll be my daughter's daughter's daughter who finds this, or someone so far removed that our family connection is just a DNA curiosity. But you're Martinez blood, which means you're stubborn, curious, and probably making all your friends nervous with your life choices. Emma laughed out loud at that. She's not wrong. Keep being curious, Sarah continued. Keep exploring, keep finding impossible things and making them possible. That's what we do. That's who we are. She leaned forward one last time. And take care of this civilization's memory. They deserved better than to be forgotten. The recording ended. Zilax looked at Emma, who was openly crying now, and felt something shift in his understanding of humans. Your species plans across time itself? Nah, Emma said, smiling through tears. Great-Grandma Sarah just really believed in us, believed that if she left breadcrumbs across 12,000 years, eventually some stubborn Martinez would follow them home. The historical record is complete, Korvac announced. Uploading to galactic archives now. This civilization's culture, art, philosophy, none of it will be lost. Jotaro stood very still, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light. So this wasn't time travel, not in the intentional sense. No, Emma confirmed, just an accident, human stubbornness, and probability so unlikely it shouldn't have worked. She looked around at all of them, but it did, because Sarah bet everything that someday, somehow, her family would find her message. And she was right, Zilax said quietly. Emma touched the memory stone one more time, gently, reverently. Yeah, she was right. 3 months later, the Galactic Council issued Emergency Xenoarchaeological Protocol Update 7.4. All ancient excavation sites must now include genetic screening for human DNA markers prior to primary excavation. The update came after they found 12 more sites. 12, Kaldra said, staring at the star map in Emma's new office. 12 separate dead civilizations across the galaxy, all showing evidence of human contact thousands of years before humans achieved spaceflight. Emma looked up from her analysis of the latest find, a site on a frozen moon where someone named James Rodriguez had apparently taught ice-dwelling sentients about thermal engineering in 9000 BCE. 13, actually. We just confirmed another one this morning. Dead world in the outer rim. Looks like Maria Chen taught them poetry. Poetry, Zilax repeated from where he stood reviewing data. After the Sarah Martinez discovery, he'd been appointed as Emma's research partner on what the council was now calling the Lost Human Diaspora Project. Your ancestor traveled 8,000 years into the past and taught aliens poetry. Human tendency to help meets catastrophic FTL malfunction, Emma said cheerfully. We're calling it the Martinez effect, which is making my mom unbearably smug. Jotaro materialized on the view screen, calling from his temporal research station. Ms. Martinez, I've completed my analysis of the FTL accident patterns. The early human quantum drives had a consistent flaw, a 0.003% chance of temporal displacement rather than spatial displacement. That's incredibly small, Kyldra observed. Yes, but humans launched 47 experimental FTL missions in a 30-year period, Jotaro continued. Statistically, we should have expected at least one temporal incident. What we're seeing suggests multiple incidents across that experimental period. Emma leaned back in her chair. So basically, early human space exploration was so reckless that we accidentally time-traveled our way into becoming ancient aliens. In the crudest possible terms, yes, Jotaro said, and Emma could swear she heard amusement in his usually stern voice. You know what's wild? Emma pulled up her own research. Kyldra, you remember those similarities you found in mathematical principles across unconnected ancient civilizations? The ones that made no sense because these cultures never had contact? Kyldra's eyes widened. No. Yes, Emma grinned. Sarah taught base 10 mathematics. James Rodriguez taught thermal dynamics equations. Chen taught geometric poetry structures. We've been finding human fingerprints in ancient civilizations for years without knowing what we were looking at. This rewrites everything, Kyldra breathed. Centuries of xeno-archaeological theory assumed these were examples of convergent cultural evolution. Nope. Just humans being helpful during their accidental time travel adventures. Emma pulled up another file. It gets better. I presented the full findings to the Galactic Council yesterday. How did they take it? Zilax asked. Emma's grin widened. About as well as you'd expect when you tell 3,000 years of established xenoarchaeology that humans accidentally seeded ideas across space-time through catastrophic FTL mishaps. She pulled up a recording of the presentation. Emma on screen, standing before the entire Galactic Council looking far more comfortable than anyone had a right to be while explaining cosmic-level implications. So yeah, recorded Emma said to a chamber of stunned council members, turns out we've been photobombing galactic history for a while. Sorry about that. The silence in the recording was deafening. The Viridian ambassador actually short-circuited, Emma said fondly. Had to be rebooted. The Centauri delegation walked out, came back 10 minutes later, then walked out again. They're still processing, Zilax noted. Aren't we all? Kyldra muttered, pouring herself something that looked disturbingly alcoholic for mid-afternoon. Emma stood, stretching. I'm heading back to the original site tomorrow. Sarah's tomb. Want to come, Zilax? Is there new data to collect? Nah, I just want to, I don't know, say goodbye properly, I guess. The tomb looked different now, cleaned, catalogued, preserved as a galactic heritage site. But the stones still glowed softly, and Sarah's recordings still played in the inner sanctum. Emma approached the memory stone alone, placing her hand on its surface. The neural interface was familiar now, gentle. Hey, Sarah, Emma said softly. We found you. All of you. Well, 13 of you so far, probably more out there. She smiled. You were right about the Martinez women. Stubborn as hell, I followed your breadcrumbs across 12,000 years. The stone pulsed warm under her palm. We remembered, Emma continued, her voice thick. Your civilization, everything they built, everything you taught them, it's all preserved now. They won't be forgotten. You won't be forgotten. She pulled out a data pad, uploading a simple message into the stone's database, adding to Sarah's ancient files. Just 3 sentences. We found you. We remembered. Thank you. The stone pulsed once, bright, warm, unmistakable. Acknowledgement across 12 millennia. Emma wiped her eyes and walked back out into the main chamber where Zilax waited. She pulled out her phone. Human tech still worked better than alien communicators for personal calls, and dialed. Hey, Mom? Yeah, I'm fine. Listen, you're not gonna believe what Great-Grandma Sarah did. She paused, listening, then laughed. No, not that Great-Grandma Sarah. The one from like 12,000 years ago. Long story, calling you from her tomb right now. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Zilax watched Emma explain casual time travel to her mother while he mentally recalibrated his entire understanding of xenoarchaeology, human probability defiance, and the fundamental nature of historical causality. They stopped for coffee on the way back to the ship. Emma ordered something with far too much sugar while discussing lunch plans with the barista. Zilax stood beside her, still processing the fact that human ancestors had apparently been influencing galactic development for thousands of years through nothing more than helpful accidents. You seem thoughtful, Emma observed, sipping her coffee. I'm reconsidering my entire career, Zilax admitted. Yeah, Sarah has that effect. Emma grinned, that particular human expression that meant she was about to say something that would make his mandibles click involuntarily. Best part, we've only checked about 3% of documented ancient sites. There are probably 100 more grandmas out there waiting to be found. She bumped his shoulder companionably. Anyone up for a road trip? Zilax looked at Emma Martinez, descendant of time travelers, reader of dead languages, casual destroyer of established scientific paradigms, and realized his career was about to get significantly more interesting. I'll prepare the expedition proposals, he said. Emma's grin could have lit up the tomb. That's the spirit. Fair warning, though. If we find Great Uncle whoever, and he taught aliens about human cooking, I'm claiming all the weird space recipes. That's not how xenoarchaeology works. Says the guy who didn't believe in time-traveling humans 3 months ago. Zilax's mandibles clicked, definitely involuntarily this time. Emma laughed and headed toward the ship, already pulling up star charts on her data pad, hunting for the next impossible story waiting to be found. Behind them, in the tomb, Sarah's stone pulsed one more time, patient, eternal, content. The Martinez legacy lived on.